My name is Nadia Clement. I am 31 years old. I live in a brick townhouse in Richmond, Virginia, with my husband Jerome and our two daughters, Zara and Bea. 6 Saturdays ago, a certified letter arrived at my front door. The return address said Harlan Clement, my father. The man who told me at 17 that I was a financial burden disguised as a daughter. The envelope was thick. Inside was a typed document. 3 pages. Single-spaced. Itemized. Column headers that read, expense, years, amount, notes. Fruit and groceries, 1993 to 2010, $78,000. Clothing, $22,000. Clothing, $22,400. Rent allocation, my share of the family home, $97,200. Utilities, $31,000. School supplies and extracurriculars, $18,600. Health insurance and medical, $52,000. Miscellaneous, $40,800. Grand total at the bottom, underlined twice, $340,000. Attached was a handwritten note on yellow legal paper. One sentence. It is time you paid back what you owe this family. No greeting. No signature. No love. Just a balance due. I sat on my porch steps for 9 minutes holding that letter. My neighbor walked past with her dog and waved. I waved back. My hands were steady, my breathing was even, and somewhere behind my ribs, something ancient and heavy shifted into place. Because here's what my father did not know. I had been preparing for this moment since I was 19 years old. Not consciously, not with malice, but with the same discipline he drilled into me from childhood. Keep records, keep receipts, trust the documentation over the memory. I had a folder. Burnt orange, expanding file with 12 pockets. Kept inside a locked cabinet in my home office behind the printer paper and the old tax binders. And inside that folder were 41 pieces of evidence spanning 12 years. Every cruel word documented. Every broken promise recorded. Every dollar I actually sent home that he conveniently forgot. He sent me a bill. I had the full audit ready. Before we go further, if you are watching this for the first time, take a second and hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps this channel grow, and leave a comment. Tell me where you are watching from and what time it is on your clock right now. Those comments are my favorite thing to read. Let me bring you to the beginning. Not the beginning of the letter, the beginning of everything. Gatesville, North Carolina. Population not quite 4,000. One traffic light. One gas station. One grocery store where the cashier knew your mother's maiden name and your grandfather's church preference. That was the town that built me and the town that tried to keep me small. My father, Harlan Clement, was a property appraiser for the county. He wore the same rotation of 4 polo shirts and carried a clipboard everywhere, even to dinner. He spoke in estimates. Everything had a value. Everything had a number. He appraised houses the way most people read weather forecasts, automatically, constantly, without affection. My mother, Colette, was a part-time receptionist at a veterinary clinic. Gentle hands. Quiet voice. The kind of woman who apologized when someone else stepped on her foot. She loved hummingbirds and lavender soap, and she kept a small garden behind the house where she grew tomatoes that never quite ripened because the soil was too sandy. My brother, Owen, was 3 years older. Built like my father. Same jaw, same walk, same way of taking up a room without saying a word. Owen played varsity baseball and drove a pickup truck that Dad bought him on his 16th birthday. The truck cost $4,200 used. I know, because I heard the number repeated at the dinner table 11 times in the months that followed. Each time it was mentioned, Dad looked at Owen with something close to pride. I was the other one. The one who read novels during family cookouts. The one who made honor roll every semester and got a nod instead of a celebration. The one who asked for a graphing calculator for Christmas and received a used one with a cracked screen because the new one was $40 more and your brother needs new cleats. I am not telling you this to build sympathy. I am telling you because the economics of my childhood were not hidden, they were announced. Loudly, repeatedly. At every meal, every holiday, Every back-to-school trip where Owen got new shoes and I got Owen's old backpack with his initials still on the tag. Dad did not believe in equal distribution, he believed in investment priority. And Owen was the priority because Owen was the son. When I was 14, I won a regional essay contest. First place, a certificate and a $200 savings bond. I brought the certificate home and put it on the kitchen counter. Dad glanced at it, said nice job, and went back to watching a baseball game. That same week, Owen struck out twice in a JV game, and Dad took him to Dairy Queen afterward to talk about adjustments to his swing. I learned early. Attention in the Clement household was a commodity, and I was never the highest bidder. Mom tried. She left notes in my lunchbox. Small ones. Proud of you, keep shining. She came to my school's academic awards night alone because Dad had an appraisal deadline. She sat in the third row and clapped louder than anyone. After the ceremony, she drove me to the gas station and let me pick any candy I wanted. I chose a Kit Kat, and she chose the same, and we sat in the parked car eating chocolate and listening to the radio, and she said you were going to do something extraordinary someday, and nobody in this town will be able to ignore it. She was right, but she would not be alive to see it. Mom died when I was 16. Pancreatic cancer. Diagnosed in March. Gone by September. 6 months. The fastest 6 months of my life, and the slowest. The last conversation I had with her, she was in the hospital bed at home, the one the hospice company set up in the living room because she wanted to see the garden through the window. Her voice was a thread. She held my wrist, not my hand, my wrist, like she was checking my pulse. Do not let this house make you small, Nadia. Promise me. I promised. I have kept that promise every single day since. After the funeral, the house changed. Not slowly, immediately. Dad stopped cooking. Owen stopped coming home before 10. The garden died. The tomatoes rotted on the vine and nobody pulled them. I became the one who cooked. The one who cleaned. The one who kept the electricity bill in a drawer because Dad forgot to pay it twice, and I called the power company myself at 16 and set up autopay from his checking account using the routing number I found on a voided check. Dad never thanked me. He never acknowledged the shift. He simply let it happen. The way you let gravity work. Without comment. Without gratitude. And then he started counting. It began casually. A comment at dinner. You know how much this electricity costs? You know what groceries run a month? You have any idea what it takes to keep a roof over your head? I assumed he was stressed. Grieving. Processing Mom's death through the only language he knew, numbers. But it was not grief. It was a thesis. And he was building it one dinner conversation at a time. The night before I left for college, he sat across from me at the kitchen table. Same table where Mom used to leave my lunchbox notes. He had a glass of sweet tea and a pocket calculator. Not a metaphor. An actual pocket calculator with a solar panel on the top. He said, I have been thinking about what you owe this family. You have lived under this roof for 17 years. I have fed you, clothed you, kept you insured. That is not free. That is an investment, and someday, I expect a return. I was 17. I had a duffel bag packed in the hallway and a partial scholarship to James Madison University, and I was hearing my father tell me that raising me was a loan. I said nothing. I picked up my bag. I walked to the car. Owen drove me to the bus station because Dad said he had an early appraisal. At the station, Owen handed me $40 in cash. He said, do not come back here unless you have to. That was the kindest thing he ever said to me, and the saddest. Because what he meant was, I cannot protect you from him. Save yourself. I met Jerome Alain Baptiste during my second year at JMU. He was a graduate student in urban planning, first-generation Haitian American, raised in Flatbush, Brooklyn, by his mother, Micheline, and his aunt, Rosalie. His father was a cab driver who died of a heart attack when Jerome was 11. Micheline cleaned office buildings at night and tutored French during the day. She put Jerome through public school, then community college, then a transfer scholarship to Virginia Tech, then graduate school. Jerome was the quietest, ambitious person I had ever met. He did not announce his plans. He executed them. He carried a small notebook in his back pocket and wrote down everything: ideas, observations, questions, grocery lists. names of people who helped him so he could thank them later. He had a list in that notebook titled People I Owe a Kindness To. It was 3 pages long. Our first real conversation was in the university library at 11 at night. I was studying for a financial accounting midterm. He was reviewing zoning maps for a thesis chapter. He looked up and said, "Are you the one who always sits in that same chair?" I said yes. He said, "I thought that chair was decorative. Nobody ever uses it." I told him the chair had lumbar support. He said that explains everything. We studied in parallel for 4 months before he asked me to get coffee. Not dinner, not a movie, coffee. Because he said he could learn more about a person in 45 minutes over coffee than in 3 hours over a meal. He was right. In 45 minutes, I learned that he could not cook rice without burning it, that he spoke Creole when he was nervous, and that his mother called him every Sunday at exactly 6 and he never missed the call. I told him about Gatesville, about Mom, about the calculator speech. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "You do not owe anyone for being born. That is not how it works." We dated for 3 years, steady, honest, unremarkable in the best way. We argued about whose turn it was to buy dish soap. We split utility bills to the cent because we were both broke and both stubborn. He met my father once. We drove to Gatesville for Thanksgiving during year 2. Jerome wore a button-down and brought a pecan pie Micheline had baked and shipped overnight from Brooklyn. He shook my father's hand. Dad looked at him, looked at me, looked at Jerome again. Dad said, "You from around here?" Jerome said, "Brooklyn." Dad said, that was dinner. Owen was not there. Owen had moved to Charlotte by then and stopped calling. Dad asked Jerome 0 questions about his education, his work, his family, his plans. He spoke to me twice during the meal, both times about the mortgage rate on the neighbor's house. On the drive home, Jerome was quiet for 30 miles. Then he said, "Your father does not dislike me. He does not see me. There is a difference." He was exactly right. Harlan Clement did not look at Jerome and see a threat. He looked at Jerome and saw a variable that did not fit his spreadsheet. I was supposed to come home, get a local job, contribute to the household, and eventually pay down my debt of existence. Jerome was the disruption, not because of who he was, but because he represented me building a life that Harlan could not appraise. We did not go back to Gatesville. Jerome proposed on the roof of our apartment building in Richmond. No ring yet. He had a plan, but not the budget. He stood next to me while we watched a thunderstorm roll in from the west and said, "I want to build something permanent with you. Not a house, a life. Will you let me?" I said yes before the first crack of thunder. I called Gatesville that evening. Dad picked up on the second ring. I told him. 6 seconds of silence. I counted. He said, "How much did the ring cost?" That was his response. Not congratulations, not "I am happy for you." How much did the ring cost? Because everything was a transaction. Every human moment had a dollar value, and my engagement was just another line item he wanted to audit. I said, "We have not bought one yet." He said, "Smart. Rings are a waste." I hung up. I did not cry. I had stopped expecting warmth from that phone number, somewhere around my 20th birthday. Owen texted the next day. Heard the news. Good for you, be happy. 5 words. No follow-up. No call. No offer to come to the wedding. But also, no cruelty. Owen had learned to be absent without being hostile. It was the only form of kindness Gatesville had taught him. We married at a community center in Richmond on a Saturday in April. 42 guests. All Jerome's side. Micheline flew up from Brooklyn with Rosalie and 6 Tupperware containers of griot and rice and beans and a 3-layer coconut cake she had spent 2 days making. Micheline held my face in both hands at the door of the community center and said, "You are my daughter now. Understand? Mine." Nobody from Gatesville came. Dad did not respond to the invitation. Owen sent a gift card for $50 to a hardware store. No note inside. My dress cost $95 from a consignment shop on Carey Street. Cream-colored. Fit like it was made for me. Jerome wore a charcoal suit from a thrift store that Rosalie tailored in our living room the night before. We looked like two people starting their lives with nothing but each other, and the full knowledge that nothing was more than enough. That night, I sat on the edge of the bathtub while Jerome slept. I opened the medicine cabinet and looked at my face in the mirror. I looked like my mother. Same cheekbones. Same dark eyes. Same expression of someone who has made peace with being unseen. I whispered to the mirror. I kept my promise, Mom. I am not small. Then I opened the linen closet, pulled out a burnt orange expanding folder I had started filling during college, and added a new item. Item 7. Wedding invitation to Harlan Clement. Sent March 2nd. No response. No attendance. No acknowledgement. That folder was the beginning of everything. Year 1 of the marriage. I called Gatesville 3 times. Each call went to voicemail. Message 1. Hi, Dad. Just checking in. We are settled in Richmond. Jerome is finishing his thesis. I am starting at an accounting firm downtown. Call me back when you get a chance. Message 2. Hey, Dad. Wanted to see how you are doing. The house okay? Owen says hi. Just call when you can. Message 3. Dad, it is Nadia. Merry Christmas. I mailed you a card. Hope you are well. No callbacks. The Christmas card came back. Same address. Same handwriting on the envelope. Stamped. Return to sender. I stared at that stamp. Red ink on white paper. A decision disguised as a postal marking. I filed it. Item 8. Christmas card. Returned. December 2019. Jerome asked me once during that first year, "Do you want to try harder with him?" I said, "I have been trying my whole life. The trying is not the problem, the audience is." He nodded. He never brought it up again unless I did. Michelin visited every 2 months. She reorganized our pantry. She taught me how to make bouillon properly. She called every Thursday evening at 7 and talked for 45 minutes about the pigeons on her fire escape and whether the bodega on Nostrand Avenue had overcharged her for plantains. She was the parent I had stopped hoping for, and she gave it freely, without a spreadsheet, without a calculator, without a running tab. I need to pause here. If this story is resonating with you, if you know what it feels like to be measured instead of loved, drop a comment. Tell me your one-line version. I read every single one. Year 2. Jerome finished his thesis and took a position at a city planning firm in Richmond. Decent salary. Benefits. Stability. The kind of job that does not make you wealthy but makes you reliable. I was working at a mid-sized accounting firm downtown. Tax preparation, compliance audits, quarterly filings. The work was tedious and precise, and I was very good at it because I had been trained since childhood to track every dollar. But something else was forming, an idea that lived in the margins of my spreadsheets and the back pages of Jerome's notebook. Jerome had spent his thesis studying how small municipalities wasted money on infrastructure planning, redundant contracts, overlapping permits, budget allocations that contradicted each other from one fiscal year to the next. The inefficiency was staggering. Towns spending 40% more than necessary on basic civic planning because nobody connected the financial data to the operational data. I saw the same thing from the accounting side. Small municipal governments hiring outside firms to audit budgets that were structured so badly the audits themselves became a recurring expense. They were paying people to tell them they were wasting money. And then they kept wasting it. Jerome described the problem. I described the cost. Between the two of us, we had the blueprint for a solution, a software platform that integrated municipal budget planning with zoning, permits, and infrastructure tracking. One system, one dashboard. One place where a city manager could see every dollar, every project, every permit, every contractor, and every deadline. We called it ClearGrid. Jerome built the prototype on a used laptop at our dining table. I wrote the financial modeling engine on weekends after my day job. We worked from 8 in the evening until 1 in the morning, 5 nights a week, for 9 months. ClearGrid launched with 2 clients, a small town in Virginia and a county planning office in Maryland. Both found us through Jerome's graduate school network. Both paid us $800 a month. Combined revenue, $1,600. Combined expenses, more than that. But it worked. The platform worked. The towns saved money, the data connected. The dashboards made sense. And for the first time in my career, I was building something instead of auditing someone else's mess. Year 3. The twins arrived. Zara and Bay. Born on a Monday in August, Zara was 6 pounds 4 ounces and screamed through the entire first night. Bea was 5 pounds 11 ounces and slept through everything, including her sisters screaming. Jerome held them both at the hospital window. He did not cry, he just stood there, perfectly still. One daughter in each arm, staring at the parking lot as if he was memorizing the exact coordinates of the moment his life changed. Micheline arrived the next morning on a 6 a.m. Amtrak from New York. She brought a suitcase, a crocheted blanket in green and yellow, and a silver chain for each baby with their initials engraved. She stayed for 3 weeks. She cooked. She cleaned. She sang Haitian lullabies at 3 in the morning, while I nursed, and Jerome slept on the couch with his mouth open. I sent Harlan the ultrasound photos 4 months before the birth. Returned. I sent birth announcements. 2 cards, one for each daughter. Returned. I sent a photograph. Zara in Jerome's arms. B gripping my pinky finger. Returned. 3 items added to the folder. Items 14, 15, 16. Owen sent a text after the birth. Congratulations, they are beautiful. Still 5 words. Still no phone call. Still no visit. But he did not return anything. He just stayed distant. A satellite in a decaying orbit. Visible but unreachable. Dad did not acknowledge the twins existed. My daughters had a grandmother. Her name was Micheline Baptiste, and she rode the Amtrak from Brooklyn every 6 weeks and never missed a birthday. Year 4. Clear Grid had 9 employees and a proper office in a converted warehouse in Scott's Addition. Jerome handled product development. I handled everything with a $sign attached. We hired a part-time nanny. We ate dinner as a family at 6:15 every evening. Non-negotiable. The folder was growing. 21 items by then. Not because I was hunting for evidence. Most months I forgot the folder existed. But when something arrived, a forwarded screenshot, a returned envelope, a piece of information that documented the ongoing erasure, I filed it. Same process every time. Print, label, date, pocket number. I was not building a weapon. I was doing what I had always done, keeping records. Because I was an accountant, and accountants do not destroy documentation. We preserve it, we organize it. We let the numbers tell the story that feelings cannot. Year 5. Something shifted in Gatesville. Owen called me for the first time in 2 years. Not a text, a phone call. He sounded tired. Different. Older than 34 should sound. Nadia, Dad is telling people you abandoned the family. I was standing in the grocery store parking lot. Bea was asleep in the car seat. Zara was eating crackers and dropping crumbs everywhere. What exactly is he telling people? That you moved away, married some outsider, and forgot where you came from. He tells the guys at the diner that he raised you by himself after Mom died and you never thanked him. And you never thanked him and you never sent money. I leaned against the car. The metal was warm from the sun. Owen, I sent him a card every birthday and Christmas for 4 years. Every single one came back stamped. I know, he showed me one of them once. He had opened it and read it and put it back in the envelope and resealed it. My chest tightened. He read them? He read all of them. He kept them in a shoebox in the closet for about a week each time. Then he sealed them back up and sent them back. Why? Because admitting he wanted them meant admitting he was wrong. And Dad does not do wrong, he does math. And in his math, you still owe him. Owen paused. He has a spreadsheet, Nadia. An actual spreadsheet. He has been building it for years. Every expense he ever spent on you. He totals it every January. He showed it to me last Thanksgiving. I closed my eyes. I already knew this was coming. I had known since the calculator speech at the kitchen table when I was 17. The spreadsheet was not news. It was confirmation. What is the number? He said 340,000. I laughed. Not a happy laugh. The kind that escapes when the absurdity finally reaches a frequency your body cannot contain. He did not include Owen on that spreadsheet, did he? No. Just you. Because Owen was the investment. I was the expense. Owen was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I am sorry I was not better. I know. We hung up. I drove home. I did not add Owen's call to the folder. It was not evidence. It was the closest thing to brotherhood he had ever offered, and I wanted it to stay clean. Year 6. ClearGrid secured its first major contract, a 3-year deal with the Commonwealth of Virginia to pilot the platform across 12 rural counties. The contract was worth $2.4 million. I remember the moment we got the call. Jerome was in the office kitchen making terrible coffee. I walked in and said, Virginia said yes. He put the coffee pot down. He looked at me. He said, Every county? All 12. He did not cheer. He did not jump. He walked to his desk, opened his notebook, and wrote something down. I asked him later what he wrote. He showed me. It said, Micheline Baptiste, Rosalie Jean-Pierre, Nadia Clement. The 3 reasons. That was Jerome. He celebrated by crediting the people who built the floor beneath him. We moved that year. A 4-bedroom brick colonial in the west end of Richmond. Red door. Magnolia in the front yard. A kitchen with enough counter space for Micheline to roll dough and for the girls to do homework, and for me to review contracts all at the same time. Zara started 1st grade. Bia started 1st grade. They rode the same bus and fought about who sat by the window every single morning. Normal. Wonderfully, painfully, perfectly normal. A local business publication ran a small feature on ClearGrid. Page 9. 4 paragraphs. A photo of Jerome and me standing in front of the office. Headline: Richmond Couples Civic Tech Startup Lands State Contract. I did not think much about it until Tess, a woman I knew from high school who still lived near Gatesville, texted me. Your dad showed the article to 3 people at the diner this morning. He told Bud at the counter that his daughter runs a tech company in Richmond. First time he has mentioned your name in public in 6 years. I read the text twice. His daughter runs a tech company. Not his daughter married a good man. Not his daughter had twins. Not his daughter sends birthday cards he secretly reads in the closet and then returns. His daughter runs a tech company. Because the numbers were changing, and Harlan Clement was an appraiser. He could smell a rising valuation the way a dog smells rain. I saved the text. Item 27. First public acknowledgement by Harlan Clement. Triggered by press coverage. No direct contact made. Year 7. 31 employees. Contracts in Virginia, Maryland, and North Carolina. A partnership with a major consulting firm that handled municipal infrastructure for the entire Mid-Atlantic. Jerome was invited to speak at a GovInTech conference in Washington. I was quoted in a State Scoop article about fiscal transparency in rural government. ClearGrid was not flashy. It was not consumer-facing. Nobody at a cocktail party had heard of us. But inside a very specific world, the world of small-town budgets and county planning offices and state procurement contracts, we were becoming the standard. Revenue that year, $8.7 million. Jerome and I still held 26% equity. We were not rich. But the trajectory was visible to anyone who knew how to read it. And Harlan Clement had spent his entire career reading trajectories. A strange thing happened that October. Someone created a LinkedIn profile with no photo, no connections, and a location listed as Eastern North Carolina. That profile viewed my page 11 times in 3 weeks. I did not need to guess. Then, Thanksgiving happened. Owen called again. Shorter this time. Less preamble. He is coming, Nadia. What do you mean? Dad has been talking to people. He is asking around about property values in Richmond. He is telling people he is thinking about visiting you. He bought a new shirt. A news shirt. A button-down. From Belk. He has not bought a new shirt in 4 years. I sat in my office with the phone pressed to my ear and the orange folder visible through the glass door of my cabinet. When? Owen said. I do not know. But soon. He is building up to something. He has that look. The same look he got before he redid the kitchen budget and fired the contractor. He is appraising the situation. Exactly. I thanked Owen. I hung up, I opened the cabinet, pulled out the folder, and counted 34 items. I reorganized them by year. I added a label to each pocket: red ink, dates, categories, returned mail, unanswered calls, second-hand reports, financial reconnaissance. The folder was not a weapon. It was not a trap. It was the documentation of a father who had spent 12 years treating his daughter as an expense, then an absence, and now, as the numbers shifted, a potential revenue source. I was not angry. I was prepared. Year 8. Clear Grid raised a Series A. $9 million from a venture firm in DC that specialized in government technology. Post-money valuation, $62 million. Jerome and I celebrated with takeout from a Haitian restaurant on Broad Street. Micheline called at 7 on the dot, she said. I told Rosalie. She cried. I cried. Now eat your food. The DC Business Journal ran a profile. GovTech Insider ran a feature. A podcast about civic innovation did a 40-minute episode with Jerome. I was quoted 3 times in the show notes. Within 2 weeks, Tess texted, "Your father told the entire men's breakfast at the church that his daughter's company is worth $60 million. He said he always knew you would be successful. Always knew." 12 years of silence. 12 years of returned birthday cards and secret shoe boxes and a spreadsheet that calculated the cost of raising me. And now he always knew. I did not add that to the folder. It was not a document, but I wrote it on the inside flap of the orange folder with a fine tip pen. Because I wanted to remember the exact moment Harlan Clement began editing his own history. He was not proud. He was not sorry. He was repositioning. The property had appreciated, and Harlan Clement was ready to make a claim. Year 9. The IPO conversations began. Investment bankers. Roadshows. Pricing models. SEC filings. Lockup agreements. Every document crossed my desk. Every number had my signature beneath it. CFO. Co-founder. The woman who turned a dining table prototype into a publicly traded company. The process consumed 8 months. Jerome coded until 2 in the morning. I reviewed filings until 3. The girls started drawing pictures of us at our desks. Zara drew Jerome with headphones and a coffee cup. Bea drew me surrounded by towers of paper with a speech bubble that said, "Almost done." ClearGrid went public on a Thursday in September. NASDAQ. Opening price, $14 a share. By market close, $19.50. Market capitalization, $390 million. Jerome and I held 11%. Paper net worth, $42.9 million. $42.9 million. I stood on the trading floor in a navy dress I bought at Nordstrom Rack for $60 and watched the number climb on the screen above our heads. Jerome stood next to me in a gray suit Rosalie had tailored. He held my hand. He did not say anything. He just held it. That evening, in our hotel room in Manhattan, I checked my phone. 7 missed calls. 3 from a number I did not recognize. 2 from Owen. 2 from Gatesville. Harlan Clement was calling. I set the phone face down on the nightstand. I ordered room service. I watched Jerome fall asleep in the armchair with his tie still on, and I waited. Because I knew what was coming. I had known for 12 years. The invoice was in the mail. It arrived 6 weeks later. The certified letter. 3 pages. $340,000. It is time you paid back what you owe this family. 12 years of silence, and his first real communication was a bill. I sat on the porch steps. I read it 3 times. I went inside, opened the locked cabinet, pulled out the orange folder. 41 items. 12 years. I did not call a lawyer. I did not call Jerome. I sat at my desk and I counted every pocket in that folder. Every returned card. Every unanswered voicemail. Every screenshot. Every piece of evidence that Harlan Clement had erased his daughter, not because she failed, but because she stopped being controllable. Then I called him. He picked up on the first ring. "Nadia, I got your letter. Good, then you understand. I understand that you sent me a bill for being your child. It is not a bill. It is a fair accounting. You lived in my house for 17 years. That costs money. Real money. You never sent Owen a bill. Owen stayed. Owen helped. You left. I left for college, on a scholarship. And then you kept leaving. I kept leaving, because you told me I was a debt, not a daughter. Silence on the line. 4 seconds. I did not say that. You held a calculator, Dad. You sat at the kitchen table and told me I owed you for raising me. I was 17. More silence. 340,000, I said. That is the number on your spreadsheet. You've been calculating it every January, Owen told me. His breathing changed. Sharper. The way it got when someone questioned his appraisal. Owen had no business telling you that. And you had no business appraising your daughter like a foreclosure property. He did not respond. I am coming to Gatesville, I said. Not to bring money. To bring something else. And I want to do it face to face. He said, when? Next Saturday. He said, fine. I hung up. I went to the kitchen. Bea was drawing at the island. Zara was reading on the couch. Jerome was making pasta. He looked at me. I am going to Gatesville on Saturday. He nodded. Alone? Yes. He stirred the sauce. He did not argue. He did not advise. He asked one question. What are you bringing? The folder. He nodded again. That was Jerome. He trusted the documentation as much as I did. I drove to Gatesville on a Saturday morning, 3 hours and 40 minutes. I stopped once for gas and a bottle of water. The folder sat on the passenger seat in a canvas tote bag. It weighed almost nothing. It carried everything. The town looked smaller. It always does when you come back with different eyes. Same traffic light. Same gas station. Same grocery store. But the proportions were wrong, like a dollhouse version of a memory. Dad's house was the same. White siding. Black shutters. The garden behind it was bare. No tomatoes. No hummingbird feeder. No evidence that Colette Clement had ever lived there. I parked in the driveway. He was standing at the front door. Same polo shirt rotation. Same clipboard posture. He looked thinner. Older. His hair was fully gray now. His glasses were different. Thicker frames, the kind insurance covers. He did not hug me. He opened the door wider and stepped aside. I walked in. The house smelled like coffee and dust and something faintly chemical, like carpet cleaner. The kitchen table was the same one. Same chairs. Same overhead light with the pull chain. He sat down. I sat across from him. 2 glasses of water were already poured. He had prepared. He expected a negotiation. His letter was on the table. 3 pages. Typed. Itemized. $340,000. I set my tote bag on the floor. Dad spoke first. I am not trying to fight Nadia. I am trying to have an honest conversation about responsibility. Then, let us be honest. I reached into the bag and pulled out the orange folder. Burnt orange. 12 pockets. 12 years. I set it on the table next to his letter. 2 documents. His, 3 pages, 1 demand, $340,000. Mine, 41 items, 12 years, 0 apologies received. He looked at the folder. What is that? You sent a bill. I brought the full audit. I opened the first pocket. Year 1. A white envelope, red stamp, return to sender, item 1. Birthday card. Mailed October 15, 2019. Returned October 28th. I set it on the table. Then another. Item 2. Christmas card. Mailed December 8, 2019. Returned December 21st. Item 3. Voicemail transcript. January 4, 2020. Duration 52 seconds. No response. I laid them out in rows, chronological, precise. The way I would lay out evidence in a compliance audit. No commentary, no performance. Just documents in order. His face changed with each one. The jaw tightened. The eyes narrowed. Not guilt. Recognition. He was seeing his own behavior formatted in a language he respected. Items. Dates. Totals. I moved through the years. Each pocket. Each item. Year 2. 3 return cards, 2 unanswered calls. 1 Facebook post from Owen's wife tagging the whole family at a barbecue. No Nadia. No mention. Year 3. Ultrasound photos. Returned. Birth announcements. Returned. A photograph of his granddaughters. Returned. I held up the photo. Zara in Jerome's arms. B gripping my finger. This is item 15. A photo of your granddaughters. You returned it in 9 days. His Adam's apple moved. Year 4. Owen's call confirming the spreadsheet. The shoebox in the closet. The cards he read in secret and resealed. You read them, I said. Owen told me. You opened every card. You looked at every photo. You kept them for a week. Then you sealed them back up and sent them back. His hands were flat on the table. I could see the veins. Why? He said nothing for 12 seconds. Because if I kept them, I would have had to call you. And if I called you, I would have had to say I was wrong. And I have never said that. Not to your mother. Not to Owen. Not to anyone. I let the word settle. Then I pulled out the final item. Item 41. His letter. 3 pages. $340,000. This arrived 6 weeks after our company went public. You did not call when I graduated. You did not call when I got married. You did not call when I got married. You did not call when your granddaughters were born. You called after the IPO. And then you sent an invoice. He stared at his own letter on the table. I watched him see it differently. Not as a fair accounting. As what it was. A man who missed every moment that mattered and showed up only when the valuation was right. I spoke steadily. No tremor. No tears. You want $340,000. You calculated the cost of raising me. Food, clothing, rent, insurance. You put a price on every meal I ate and every shirt I wore, but you did not calculate what you cost me. I pulled out a single sheet of paper from the back pocket of the folder. Handwritten. My numbers. 9 years of therapy, $2,800 to $1,800. 7 years of birthday cards, postage, and gifts. All returned, $340. Wedding without a father present, cost unknown. 2 daughters who have never met their grandfather, cost unknown. A mother who died asking me not to let this house make me small, cost immeasurable. I set the paper next to his letter. Your total, $340,000. My total, everything you cannot put on a spreadsheet. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. I did not raise my voice. I delivered the final line the way I deliver fiscal year summaries to the board. Calm. Complete. No revision pending. I will not give you money, Dad, not because I cannot afford it. Because the moment I write a check, you will tell yourself that the silence was justified, that the spreadsheet was fair, that you were right to treat your daughter like a liability until she became profitable. And I will not fund that lie. He did not speak. If you want to know Zara and Bea, that door is not closed. But it does not open with a bill. It opens with accountability. And it starts when you are ready to say the one word you have never said to anyone. He sat there. The kitchen light buzzed. The same overhead bulb with the pull chain. I stood up. I left his letter on the table. I took my folder. I walked to the door. Behind me, very quietly, I heard him say, Nadia. I stopped. I did not turn around. I heard him breathe. 1 breath. 2. I am sorry. 2 words. Barely audible. 12 years late. But they were there. I stood in the doorway for 6 seconds. Then I said, call me in 2 weeks. On a Tuesday. And ask about your granddaughters. Not their school, not their grades. Ask what makes them laugh. I walked to the car. I put the folder on the passenger seat. I drove 3 hours and 40 minutes home. Jerome was in the kitchen when I walked in. The girls were asleep. He had made tea. 2 cups. He set one in front of me. How did it go? I told him. He listened. The way he always listens. The way he always listens. Line by line. When I finished, he said, did he mean it? I said, I do not know yet, but he said it. And that is something he has never done before. Jerome nodded. He picked up my empty cup and his. He washed them both. He dried them. He put them back in the cabinet. That was love. Not a transaction. Not a spreadsheet. Just a man washing a cup because the woman he loved needed her hands to be empty for a while. Harlan called on a Tuesday. 2 weeks later. Exactly as I asked. He said, "Tell me about the girls." I said, "Zara wants to be a marine biologist. She draws octopuses on everything, her notebooks, her shoes, the bathroom mirror. Bea wants to be a chef. She watches cooking shows and narrates them like a sportscaster." He laughed. Small, rusty, like a machine that had not been used in a long time. We talked for 11 minutes. He did not mention money. He did not mention the letter. He asked 4 questions, all about the girls. Then he said, "Can I call again next Tuesday?" "Yes." And he hung up. I did not add that call to the folder. I hoped I would never add another item again. Here is what 12 years and 41 items taught me. Your parents are not your creditors. Childhood is not a loan. The food they put on your table, the roof they kept over your head, the clothes they put on your back. That is not an investment portfolio. That is the minimum. That is what you sign up for when you bring a child into the world. And if someone shows up in your life only after the numbers change, after the press coverage, after the funding round, after the stock price climbs, they are not reconnecting. They are appraising. Family is not the people who calculate your cost. Family is the woman who rides the Amtrak from Brooklyn every 6 weeks with Tupperware and a crocheted blanket. Family is the man who washes your cup at midnight because your hands need to be empty. Family is the daughter who draws octopuses on the bathroom mirror, and the other daughter who narrates cooking shows like playoff games. That is family. And it was never on a spreadsheet. That is my story, 12 years, 41 items, one burnt orange folder. If this reminded you that your worth was never a number on someone else's ledger, share it with someone who needs that today. Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.